Hey, so I wanted to do a real quick video. Well, probably not real quick, but this was a perfect example on how you can fix boxes just in case you decide to change your mind on what you're going to do. So this is the Sailor Moon design I had mentioned at the end of my previous video. So I originally had this box completely built with a drawer that I've been holding my phone chains in. So I had a drawer on the inside with a shelf on top of the drawer. The sides, the bottom, the top, everything was glued together. The only piece that I needed to finish was the front of the box, and I couldn't figure out exactly how I wanted it to be with the drawer, and some pieces just weren't fitting together, and I just kind of wanted to start over. I didn't want to create just a basic box again. I'm really trying to create different designs. So like the one piece box that I did in my last video, that's what I want to do with the Sailor Moon. Because I already have this drawer, it is kind of shaped differently, but I don't want to pull all of these off because the film is off both the front and the back, because I have to do that with drawers when I'm piecing everything together, and I don't want to ruin these. So I'm going to try to create the shape of the box that I need to work with this drawer. These are, I believe they're 5s. Hold on. They might be a little bit bigger than 5s. Nope, these are about the 5s. And then these are 10s. So again, just like the one piece, you can use 8 and 4s if you want, but basically, I just wanted to show you that this is why it's so important that when you're putting your pieces together, that you do not take that film off unless you absolutely have to. I typically try to save the film on one side until the very end. I do not take it off until I'm 100% happy with the box, and then it comes off. So last night, I decided to completely peel everything apart. It was really hard. I was actually quite impressed with how well it was glued together, and it was not wanting to come undone. So I wanted to show you how some of the pieces look. And basically what you can also do with designs like this, sometimes with these designs, when there's no words on here or a logo, something where you can tell it's the right side up, it's pretty easy to just flip it over, because I have the film. Let's see, is it on this side? Yeah. So the film was left on this side because this was the outside of one of the walls of the box. This piece was on the inside. So if it gets too damaged where you're trying to get some of the acrylic off and you scratch it up too much, just flip it over. So now this will be the outside of the box, and this can be, the inside where you may not see it as much. If it's too damaged where you cannot get all of the acrylic off, or you just scratched it up too much, then it's fine. Just make sure you have enough pieces to do. If you don't end up with enough pieces, you might just have to readjust the design that you make. So these ones I wanted to show you how much. So there was this piece, because I had the shelf. So I had a shelf that was going over the top of the drawer. And then this was the bottom part of my box. So this chunk of acrylic right here was one of the walls that came up to support that shelf. And then on the back side right here, you can see that this was where the wall of the box sat. So of course, with this one, let's see, I believe all acrylic is off here too, or is that the film? Hold on. Okay, that's the film side. So there's the side where I glued. And then on this piece, I also have the film left on here because this was the very bottom of the box. So again, I do not take all the film off until the very end. So what I'm going to do is I use my tweezers. Now this is kind of a long, tedious process. I don't mind doing it because I really try to salvage my acrylics as much as I can if I make a mistake. So that way I don't have to waste them. And here were the pieces that I had on the inside that created the shelf over the drawer. It didn't really match the design, but it was hidden enough to where you couldn't even tell. I don't think I can really salvage those, but it's okay. So basically, I just take my tweezers and then I get on the acrylic, and then you literally just start pushing it. And don't dig into the acrylic, but you can just start getting it lifted up off the acrylic. Eventually, when you get a good chunk lifted up, you can then just peel it off, and then like a strip will peel off of it. Sometimes I'll also go in like a circular motion and just try to get little areas off. Now, sometimes you might see a little bit of the scuff scratch marks on here. Sometimes it's just not all the way scratched. So if you actually start cleaning the acrylic, like glass cleaner or whatever you have that you can clean the acrylic with, it'll come off pretty good. So I just kind of wanted to show you that you can salvage your acrylics if you change your mind on how you want to design your box. It's not always fun to tear, one of your boxes apart, but at the same time, you want to be happy with, your boxes and what you make. Hey, so I just wanted to come back and show you guys how to salvage your acrylics. Basically last night after I finished my one-piece box for my previous video, I was looking at my Sailor Moon box that I had previously built. Didn't finish it yet, but I just wasn't happy with it. I basically had a bigger box built. I had the back panel on, the side panels, the top was on. I even had a drawer built. Currently it holds my phone chains that I make, but I had the drawer built, and then I had a shelf that was coming over the drawer. And I couldn't just figure out exactly how I wanted the very front to be, because usually sometimes with the drawers you have to have the basically the opening to the box swinging open. It's really hard to have an opening from the top when you have the drawers. And I couldn't get pieces to fit right. I just really couldn't put it together how I was envisioning it. So I was looking at it last night and decided I'm just going to kind of do it how I did the one-piece box, where I have one drawer on the inside and then I have another one sliding open. I really like that design, and it's more compact. It's not as big. So I'm going to try to use this drawer that I originally built. And that's just because I already have all of the film off the acrylics, because when you're putting the drawers together, it's really hard to leave them on. Some panels you can, but I didn't leave any of them on. So I don't want to take this drawer apart, because if I were to glue it back together, it's more than likely going to get glue on both sides. And it's really, really hard and a long drawn out process to try to get it off two sides. Whoops, sorry. So what I'm going to do is show you. So this was really hard to pull apart. I mean, this box has been put together for a while. So that E6000 glue is amazing. And I thought I was going to snap the acrylic in half when I was pulling them apart last night. So very impressed with how well it does. Another big reason on why it's so important for you to not take all of your film off. Only take the film off when you absolutely need to. I think that's going to be one part that's going to save at least this type of a box, because like right here, you can see that I have a big chunk here, because this was my bottom piece. I also had this one on the bottom. You can see this big chunk. So this one was where the shelf was. So I had the sidewall coming up and sitting here. And then the shelf was over here, and then this piece is where the side of the shelf came down. So obviously the film is off this side, but on the back side, it's still on. So I'm gonna basically take my tweezers and I'm just gonna scrape the acrylic off as much as I can. The good part, and I just kind of use this side, I don't dig in too much. Sometimes if you get a good chunk lifted up off the acrylic, you can then just like grab it and then kind of start ripping it off like that. And then you get bigger chunks coming off. The good thing about acrylics that don't have a word, you know, a logo, anything where you can tell it's backwards. Because when it's just flowers and a face, if for any reason you have to flip it over, you can. And I may have to do that with some of these acrylics. So for like the bottom side, I'm going to probably have to have this piece now be the very bottom of the box. And then I'll use this piece for the top part. So that way when you're looking inside the box, you don't see all of those mistakes. So now I'm just going to go through, get some glue scraped off. It's also on some of these 5 centimeters. You can, again, build the boxes with 5s and 10s, or you can build it with the 8 and the 4 centimeters. But again, you can see this one has the film on, and then of course this side doesn't. Also, on the side pieces right here, when you have the glue on, I just go like this and I rub it like that and it comes off. So this is just a really good way to salvage as much as you can. If for some reason you are trying really hard to scrape off the acrylic glue and it's not coming off, you may just have to not use that piece. But of course, always make sure you're laying out your design, you're counting your pieces to make sure you're going to have enough acrylics, because if you can't use a certain piece, you still need to make sure that the design you're doing is going to work. So right there, I took those apart and you can see the glue is on there still. So just take the side part and just rub it, and I just kind of scrape it. And then it'll ball up a little bit and you can just peel it off. I had a big pile of glue last night from getting some of these done, but I just wanted to come and say that, you know, just because you make a mistake doesn't mean you can't fix it. The only time you may not be able to fix it is if you use super glue. So I would definitely not recommend using super glue. The only time it's really good to use the super glue is if you've been doing it for a while, you're sticking to a really easy design where you don't have to line up too many things, because once you glue that together, it is going to leave probably a white filmy look to it. And it's really, really hard if you make a mistake to come back from that with super glue. So definitely use E6000. So I'm going to get these scraped off a little bit and then I'm going to start making the box. Okay, so one thing I'm going to do, and I figured to just do this first so that way we don't spend too much time peeling off glue, is to go around the drawer and build off that. Because I don't think I'm going to end up using all of these. I mean, I might. I'm probably just miscalculating, but I think it would be easier, especially since when you're taking a box apart and then getting all of that glue peeled off, it's just probably a lot easier to figure out your design, because if you're not taking the drawer apart, we may as well build around the drawer. Let me take my phone chains out. Because I was kind of thinking, you know, like this is kind of a longer, you know, a more narrow box. It's not too wide, so when we make the bottom, it's going to have to be in this, you know, shape. So I want to make sure we have the right amount of pieces. So it looks like when we turn it over here, so 4 of these together would be one panel. So we basically have 1, 2, and then we have this strip of 4 over here. And we can build the box that way, and do all of the bottom pieces and everything. It's just going to be a different shape than like my one piece box. That one's a little bit more wide. Okay. So basically what I do is I really like to use bigger pieces on the bottom, you know, so that way it supports stuff. I mean, you can do a mixture if you want, it's fine. Because we're going to have to do 4 pieces of the 5 centimeters. Okay, so we got 2 there, and then we'll just throw in, and I will go back through all of this and pick out exactly which ones I want to glue together. When I do it like this, I'm just basically making sure I have the correct amount of pieces. Okay, so this will be the bottom base. That's the first drawer that we'll sit on. That's going to kind of swivel out. So that's what we need to build off of. We need to build off of this shape. So we're going to have to create 3 pieces that are this shape and this many acrylics. We're going to need it for the bottom base, the bottom part that's going to go above this drawer right here. It's going to sit on here, and then our lid. Now for the base piece coming up here and here, let's see, I have to, so again, we're going to have to create a piece here and then do 2 of the 5 centimeters or the 4 centimeters if you're using that. So we could always just go like this, because these are glued together just opposite way. Okay, so that'll come like that. And then over here, we're going to need 2 8 centimeters or 10 centimeters because it's going to surround the side. So we're not doing a panel on this side or this side because the drawer is going to swivel out. Okay, so now we got to make sure it's going to be high enough. So let's put this drawer on top of here. And then if we do this, and then I like to just lean up the acrylics against the drawer. I think I have another piece that's still somewhat put together. Okay, so then this will be the bottom part of the top drawer. Okay, and then we're going to glue a panel along this side and in the front, because this front and this side will be glued against, you know, the walls. So if we take this panel, it looks like it's going to be just a little high. Here, I'll show you. So we could, I might put the side piece. I mean, it's not too much. I mean, that's about what I had on my one piece box. But if we glue that to the side of the panel, okay. So that's how it's going to work. So I'm definitely not going to use all of the acrylics I have because this one's going to be a little bit more compact type box. I just need to make sure when we put the lid on, because when we have a gap like this and the lid, let's say it sits on top of here, you know, you're going to have this big gap. So I might need to make sure it kind of sits, maybe it sits like that. I'll just have to figure it out as I go. Another thing that you can do too is that if you are making boxes and you make any type of mistake, like let's say you get glue on an acrylic and then you're scraping it off and now you have scratch marks. I use a lot of charms, like the resin charms. I mean, I have a lot of different designs and you can just put a charm on top of that acrylic, and then it covers your blemish. So if I have a big gap, you know, with a corner or something like that, I could probably put a charm on the outside, maybe like a butterfly or something, you know, that'll go good with the box. So I just wanted to show you. Definitely do the design of how you want your layout to be done first. So that way you're not spending a whole bunch of time scraping all of this glue off your acrylics that you're trying to reuse from a previous mistake. All right, so that's what I kind of wanted to let you know. I will probably show you my final look. It's going to basically be the same concept as my previous one-piece box that I did, but this one's just a little bit more smaller. Okay, I wanted to come on here and show you what I mentioned earlier about being able to use charms to cover up mistakes. So this is the Sailor Moon box. I've gotten pretty far on it. And since I had to tear it all apart from the previous box, a lot of the pieces did have glue on the acrylic on one side because I still had the film on the other. I was able to scrape it off as much as I could. I used any part that still had the film on the outside, and then anything that previously had the glue on it is facing on the inside. I did start noticing on the inside of these panels, which it's not that big of a deal, but this is going to be the top drawer. And, you know, when you're making these boxes, you just want to make sure they're good. So I'm pretty sure you can see those scratches. And I've been using, I have like a Mrs. Meyer's like all-purpose cleaner, and I'll use that to wipe down my boxes, you know, after I'm done making them, because they, you know, get fingerprints and all of that stuff on here. But I started noticing that these scratches and scuffs are, you know, pretty noticeable. So let's say somebody buys this, they're not going to want to have, you know, all of those scratches and marks on it. This one doesn't have too much. There's just, you might not be able to see it, but there's just a little bit, you know, towards the bottom. So I did find some of these butterflies, and I thought it would be perfect to go since there are butterflies all over the acrylics. So they're just plastic type butterflies that I got off TikTok. Where's the camera? There it is. They're pretty cute, and I think they go with the acrylics really well. So I'm just going to basically take them and start laying them out, you know, where they can go to cover up those scratches. I try not to cover up too much of the face, but if I need to, then, you know, I will. But see, it does add a really cute addition to the acrylic boxes if you do have to cover up any mistakes. So that's what I wanted to show you guys. Alright, so my Sailor Moon box is dried. I had the hinges and stuff put on it yesterday. Let me adjust this a little. Okay, so this is basically what I did. I did 3 hinges on the top, put the knob here, and then I decided to do the hinge here in the corner for the drawer. So, make sure I can get this on camera. So that drawer will slide out like that. Very impressed, and I like it so much better this way than the original box that I did. And then I did put 2 little butterflies right here. I just had a little tiny blemish of a scratch, so I decided to put 2 butterflies right there. And then if we open up the inside, I love the addition of these butterflies. I ended up putting butterflies on the inside on all the panels, because originally I had it on 3 of them and I didn't have any over here, so I'm like, I need to put some over there. And I think it works really well. It's a great addition. It makes the box look really cute, and it can help hide up some scuffs. And I just need to come in and wipe the acrylics down. So the one thing I am going to do, so with this design of a box, the lid is basically sitting on the front and then the side piece. So over here in this area, there's nothing really holding the lid. I mean, it still works. It's still okay, but it kind of dips down a little bit. So I'm going to actually put a little butterfly like right up here in the corner. So that way when the lid is closed, it'll rest right here. Gorilla Glue is like the best super glue ever. I like getting this one because it has a little tip on it. They also have ones that are, I think they're called like the pens or whatever, but this is the best super glue ever. So I'm going to do that. Dries a lot faster than E6000, which charms and stuff, that's totally okay to use super glue for. So I am going to get this put on, and I'm going to make sure I put it in the right area. So basically what I do is I like to just close it. With my one-piece box, I used an acrylic charm, like a, not a charm, but an irregular shaped acrylic. I was originally thinking about using one of my lockbox acrylic attachments because I have the pieces that you can glue on to then attach a lock to make it a lockbox. But then I'm like, wait a minute, I have irregular shaped acrylics that are one piece. So I put one on the inside and now the lid is perfectly fine. Okay, so this one, I'm just looking at like how much room I have. Because, you know, this little butterfly charm, it's kind of small. You know, and it's kind of thin, so I wanted to make sure it's going to work. Because I don't have room to put another bigger one. So maybe I might, because I have a little gap right here between the lid and the wall. So I'm going to do that and then I'll be right back to show you guys. Okay, so I got the charm on. I basically put it right there in the corner. Let me make sure it's secured. And the one thing I really like about these butterflies, as you can probably see a little bit, the wings kind of stick out a little bit, so that's going to help support the lid. So let me close it. Yes, okay. Just that little bit of the wings is now holding that lid perfectly balanced on the box. It's no longer sinking in a little bit, so I'm really, really happy with it. Again, any film that you may have left on any of the pieces, I would totally leave them on until you absolutely need to take them off. If you made the box for you, then of course take it off. But if you're making these to sell them or give them away as a gift or something like that, I would definitely wait until the very end to take the film off, so that way you don't scratch it up. But it is now complete. All right, I got the butterfly added. It works perfectly. It's a great size. And as you can see, the lid sits on it perfectly. So, great decision to add it. Definitely recommend using charms if you need to use them. All right, bye.